Maybe I should cut on some better lighting. So give me a second. I know there's no one here, but whatever. You get it. Alrighty, that's better. Get myself adjusted here. Yes, you did see a candy cane and no Diddy. Um, Doing this earlier than usual, and this is intentional. So I've been doing um, geopolitical chats with my viewers for the past 2 weeks, minus the holidays. The problem is, I know usually with my audience in the evening, it's mostly my folks here in the U.S. or Western-based countries, but a lot of the places I wanted to discuss were places that were not within the American sphere or the Western world, and I didn't get too many people from those countries to kind of talk about it, from a hands-on point of view, except for Europe. That one went well because I had one of my moderators who's from Europe actually talk about what's going on there, particularly uh, the problems in Germany. So that went well, and the one we did, and of course the first one about America went well as well, because obviously most people could talk about the problems here, but all the other ones I talked about, like Asia and Africa, didn't go well. Now, I used to have a lot of folks from those countries who usually could talk about it, but either they weren't available or it was a bad time because of the different time zones. So I know early during the day is when I can get a lot of people from overseas. So I welcome that, but I couldn't do that on those particular days because, hey, I'm working and got other things to do. So I do it during the evening when I get my best audience. Uh, I'm from the United States, Offer. He says, where are you from, dude? Um, so I decided to end my geopolitical discussions that I've been having for the past 2 weeks because, they just weren't too successful because I was doing it in the evening with mostly people who didn't know anything about that area of stuff. So Lee Burn fan says I'll sub. Thank you, Lee Burn. Um, but I wanted to. I ended that geopolitical discussion, but I wanted to do a lot more, particularly in Asia, and then I wanted to go over to like talking about Latin America and maybe the Pacific Islands and indigenous people and stuff like that. I couldn't because, well, I could, but it wasn't very rewarding. So I just like prematurely ended that discussion. However, I want this to be sort of a talk about geopolitics if people want, or at least talk about stuff going on in the world. So I don't talk about what I do for a living. I do lead generation. Um, so anyway, um, just want to talk about you know what people are seeing across the globe, if we can. This is sort of like an experiment, see how this goes. Officers love from India. What's up? What part of India? Um, I want to see. I wanted to talk about India too. One of the reasons the second reason I ended my geopolitics discussion was, well, like I said, the first reason was it just wasn't getting a lot of attention and traffic to talk about it. But the second reason was I couldn't talk about Asia because almost every time I talk about Asia, it it would go to a particular country in Asia that I can't mention because once I do, it would make my streams less ad suitable. So if I'm not getting revenue through the generous donations that some of you guys send me, then I have to get it through my ad revenue when I upload these videos for replay. The problem is if I replay these videos and is deemed not ad suitable, then I'm not getting any revenue from it. And talking about that one particular country in Asia will automatically make a video not ad suitable because not because YouTube has a bias towards them, but because they having a country of 1.2 billion people is a huge place for for advertising and marketing, and the content that content creators on YouTube make, if it if it speaks poorly upon those people in that region of the world, whereas 1.2 billion possible people as customers, then they they're not gonna they're not gonna put ads on your videos. So I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna stop this geopolitics discussion because no matter what I talked about, I kept going back to that one other country. Even when I talked about Africa, I still talked about that one country in Asia because of their Belt and Road initiative, which they have been using in Africa to start a sort of neo-colonialism there. So I'm not going to mention that country anymore, other than in the best of terms. Besides, I want to visit there anyway, so it probably would behoove me not to talk badly about them. Yash Pathex is, nobody likes your streams. Like, done. I don't know what you're saying, man. I'm first of all, he says India has shitty ad revenue around 1/10 of the U.S. You're not getting what I'm saying. You clearly missed the mark here. First of all, I'm not in India. If someone doesn't like my streams, again, that's my cue to move the streams to a better time slot, or talk about something, or do better content in that live stream that people would be interested in. That's why I ended the geopolitics discussion. As far as ad revenue, you don't get what I'm saying. I'm talking about ad placement in the videos. Ad suitability has nothing to do with whether people like the streams. It has to do with it being friendly for advertisers. So you missed the mark there, clearly. The What I'm saying is, if you if you use certain language that's considered offensive or inappropriate for advertisers, it's going to lack ad suitability, which means it's going to be partly demonetized. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, um, so this is me doing something early today instead of in the evening where I usually do it, so I can actually get a more foreign audience and ask people what's going on in their countries. Guys, let me know what's going on. If you're from India, if you're from somewhere in Africa, somewhere in Europe, somewhere in Asia, somewhere in Latin America, um, somewhere in North America, let me know. Like I said, so you know, in my geopolitics discussion, I touched on a lot of stuff. Like the first video was just a feeler for like what's going on generally. But then the first region I went into, of course, was the United States, talking about how some of their issues were also global concerns. And then I next went to Europe, and we talked a lot about Germany, um, how these how the country has become very unstable, and how that could lead to problems with the EU as a whole, because Germany is sort of like one of the beacons of the EU. So if they crumble, as does the EU, then I start talking about um, I, was trying to get into like the Middle East crisis. Didn't get into it as much as I wanted. Plus, it's something I've talked about numerous times before, so I went into that a bit. Then I went into some parts of East Asia, and like I said, that's wasn't very good. Anytime I talked about East Asia, I kept revolving around a particular country that has 1.2 billion people. That's all I'll say. And because of so many problematic issues with them, it touches on a lot of other countries. And when I bring that up, it makes my streams less ad suitable. So not gonna say the country. I wasn't even saying it then. I would just spell out the name of it. But if I say 1.2 billion people, I think people know whom what country that I'm to what country I'm referring, right? Yeah, it says India is silent, but a lot going on in Pakistan, Afghan border, where in East Asia. Again, I'm not going to say where in East Asia because I'm not getting my streams dinged by mentioning the country. I clearly just said that 5 times, not mentioning it. If you can't use context clues to tell which country I'm talking about in East Asia, then I mean, I don't know about in India, but clearly here in America, when people talk about East Asia, there's one particular country that most people think about when they think East Asia, as it is the second largest, like, most populated country in the world, and shares a border with India, on which they've had numerous skirmishes. Most people aren't aware of that. That's something else I couldn't bring up. I couldn't bring up that there's a low key war going on between them and India for the past several years along that border where there's a disputed territory. Can't talk about that one. It's not meant to meant to have the Indian color flag colors on it. That's funny though. It's just a Jolly Rancher flavored candy cane, which I probably shouldn't even be eating on the stream because I'll have a bunch of people coming in here saying Diddy this and Diddy that. But yeah, India's got a lot of stuff going on with it. Here's something I just learned a few days ago. I have friended a acid attack survivor. I don't want to mention her name until she gives me permission, but I may be bringing her on to my streams, uh, if she's okay with it, if she feels comfortable doing so. But I not Malala. I don't know her. She's the most famous of them, I think. But there are other, um, you know, Indian influencers out there who are the survivors of acid attacks, and I've friended her. She lives in Mumbai, and I'm gonna see if she wants to come on to my channel one day. I'm gonna see what time she's available, if she is comfortable coming on the channel. But I've learned a lot of stuff from her about India. So for instance, you guys have a weird time zone thing. Like, you guys have a half an hour time zone difference between every other time zone in the world. Like, that's just weird. So it's like, I to speak with her, I have to constantly like Google what the current time is there because I get confused of what time it is there. Yeah, acid attacks are really sad. She survived as a child, and it's so bad that I don't think she knows her actual age. She knows whereabouts where her age is, but from I think the orphanage that kept her. But yeah, so I don't want to put too much of a business out there, but apparently, from what she told me, her father was disappointed that she was a girl. Like, okay, let's just say that some of the culture in India needs some revamping because this is crazy. Especially when this happened in the '90s. This didn't happen in the '80s. This didn't happen in the '70s. This didn't happen in the '60s. This happened in the '90s, late '90s. Because I'm not gonna put her age out there, but this happened in the late '90s. Apparently, the father was disappointed that she was a girl and threw acid on her and the mother, which ended up unaliving the mother and severely just deforming her as a child. But she's still beautiful in her own way. She does fashion influencing. Um, but yeah, so like she's told me a lot of stuff about India. Like she's told me this was something I was not aware of. You guys, there's still places you can buy beef there. I didn't know that. I thought beef was completely off the table in India, and I'm guessing I thought that just because you can't order beef in McDonald's in India, like they have something in place of the Big Mac is what called the Big Maharaji burger or chicken Maharaji burger, something like that. I want to try it. Um, and she was telling me like basically I can like if I come there, I can still get beef, I can still get pork. I'm like, really? Okay, that's cool. Now the only thing I'm not gonna try when I'm there is street food. I'm sorry, but stereotypes persist for a reason. I'm not gonna try street food, but I will I will gladly sit down in a fine restaurant establishment, but I'm not gonna eat street food. Yeah, it's just beef is also buffalo meat, sir. We don't slaughter cows. What she told me is beef. I don't know what you guys call buffalo there. I'm guessing you're referring to water buffaloes. I've had buffalo here in America, like North American buffalo. It's called bison. It tastes just like beef, more or less. It's delicious. But I'll have to ask her about that if their beef is not because she said that's not true. Like, because I asked her, she was like, that's not true at all. She's like, you gotta. She told me she was like, look, you gotta remember, India is a huge place, so just because one particular region don't do things doesn't mean they won't in another place. She's like, in some places, yes, you can find beef. Yasha's stereotype is real, sir. I know. As I said, no offense to anyone, but I'm not going to eat any street food there. I'm only going to restaurants, and the first restaurant I'm going to is McDonald's. And I'm not going to McDonald's first because I'm afraid of Indian food. Indian food is delicious, at least the kind I've had here in America. The um, the reason I want to go to McDonald's there first is because every country I visit, I love trying out their McDonald's because every McDonald's in every country has a different like menu, particularly just for that country. Nasruddin says Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you. Appreciate it. Happy New Year's to everyone else who's currently watching the stream as well. Can you believe it's 2025 already? We've gone beyond a lot of the movies that were about the future 40 years ago. Like Back to the Future. Back to the Future was in 2021, part two, that is. Um, then Space Odyssey 2001, and then the sequel to that, Space Odyssey 2010. Like, we've gone beyond the futuristic movies. We are in the era of the Jetsons, and we don't have anything remotely like what they had in Jetsons. Of course, one good thing we don't have is the level of actually we're getting there, but the level of smog was so bad. That's why they in the Jetsons built their houses all the way up high because the air on the ground level was considered like bad. But anyway, uh, yeah, I just know you're missing the point. When you want food, you need someone authentic like me to suggest you. Well, again, if I go, if I go there, I know I'm planning on going to Nepal first, probably. But if and when I come to India, I will have a friend there. Like I typically know someone whenever I go somewhere, or if I don't, I hire a professional tour guide, like I did in a few other places I went to. Um, but I'm not trying street food. That's not even happening. Even if I'm there alone, I know I can just go to a fine dining establishment and I'll be safe eating there. Google is just for a reason. I can use Google or Yelp or whatever, Chat GPT, whatever, to find what I need to find anywhere I need to go. BON says you were the one who told me to look up the Trump Epstein Katie Johnson civil case court documents on Google. No, I wasn't. I don't even know what you're talking about. Nazruddin says, any new books you're trying to read this year? Eh, no. If I read a book, I'm just going to read it. I don't plan ahead books that I'm going to read. I have a bunch of I have a backlog of books all over my room that I haven't read yet. I have old books from college that I haven't read yet that I still plan on reading. I have some comic books I still want to read. I don't I don't plan books to read out for the year. I think people do that who read a lot of fiction, big fiction. I don't read trendy. I don't read trendy fiction books. Like the stuff I read nerdy stuff. I like to read my textbooks from college that I haven't finished reading. Um, I read my comic books and graphic novels, but I don't. It's not like I'm waiting for the next Tom Clancy book to drop or something like that. I don't like. I don't like contemporary fiction. Also, I have a list of classical literature that I want to check out at the library and read. But I have a list of library books that I plan on checking out. But they're all like classical literature. Um, Little Peep says, I don't even know what Little Peep is trying to say because that doesn't make sense. So maybe you can kind of reformat that that comment. I don't know what it's saying. So I don't even do timeouts anymore for trolls. I just automatically ban them because I know that there's been an incursion of trolls ever since YouTube changed their format. They no longer allow people to permanently ban people. So it doesn't make sense to even time people out. Just ban their username when they start trolling. Make them do the work of starting a new username. And then if I really have to, I guess they allow you to block someone, but again, you still can't permanently ban them. Which I don't know why YouTube stopped doing that because this caused an uptick in uncivil behavior in live streams that a lot of people have noticed. This is why I won't be giving out too much info personal anymore because really cringy people out there and on these streams, unfortunately. The movie, okay, isn't it Escape from Alcatraz like a 50-year-old movie? What did you ask a question prior to that? Because I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't get why you were just saying English from Escape from Alcatraz. No one gets that. No one's going to get some random movie that no one cares about from 50 years ago or 40 years ago, whatever. Anywho, so we're talking about India. And again, we can talk about other countries as well. But since I was talking to Yash here, um, I was just saying, yeah, I learned some new things about India from my friend who's a acid attack survivor. She told me about Mumbai. Now, it sounded like one of my friends in high school and college. I can't remember where his parents were from. I think they were from Mumbai or from New Delhi. I'm not sure where. She told me she told me Mumbai is better than New Delhi, but she might be biased. um, for most folks here, we probably wouldn't know the difference, to be honest. But she is right that India is a very large place, and I mean, if you include all the former regions that formed, the subcontinent of India, um, it would be really large indeed. Like if you include like Pakistan, Bangladesh, um, I guess maybe even Sri Lanka. So, and I think sometimes Afghanistan is considered a people of Desi ethnicity. I'm not sure. In my Indian folks, you can tell me whether that's right or wrong. Whether Afghani should be included as Desi people or not. I'm not sure. I remember talking with someone here who was Pakistani about possibly visiting there, but yeah, I'm not too sure that would be safe with the heightened tensions between India and Pakistan, and the U.S. obviously favoring, I guess, India, but I don't know. I'm not sure if Pakistan would be the right place to visit right now. Like Nepal, sure. Oh, I forgot to include Nepal as well in the Indian subcontinent. But yeah, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and maybe Afghanistan. But anyway, I will visit those two places. Pakistan, not too sure about yet. Um, Let me make sure I still have my chat room intact because it does mess up from time to time, and I have to keep checking the chat filter to make sure I'm getting everything. Pause. Yep, look like I am. But yeah, like I said, this was just a feeler to see what's going on across the world. Like I said, there's one particular region I can't talk about. So that's why I ended my geopolitics discussion. But if you guys want to check out my previous ones, feel free to do so. Like I said, that's what I've been talking about for the past 2 weeks, aside from talking about the holidays. So took a few days to talk about Christmas and New Year's, stuff like that, as we are a Christmas celebrating country here. But I also did mention many of the other winter holidays like solstice, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, um, any other ones? There's other ones, and then I also mentioned all the other all the other gods who are also born on December 25th of virgin mothers. It's actually a lot of them, guys. Buddha, for one of them, since we're talking about India. Buddha was, I think, born December 25th, virgin mom. Mithra. Zarathustra, Horus, Hercules. Um, man, so many of them. Um, I think was one named Attila or something like that. It's a bunch of them, and it's so the whole Christmas thing seems to be something that has been borrowed from earlier religions. The notion of a God born on December 25th, right around the winter solstice, the beginning of winter, and of a virgin birth, I mean, virgin mother, seems to be a common theme, which is not to take away from the cultural significance of Christmas, obviously, but it just puts it in perspective as I munch on a candy cane. It's the only one I've had all year, guys. So don't think I've been eating a bunch of candy canes. Pause. But first candy cane I've had all um, since the beginning of Christmas 2 weeks ago. But not getting too much playback here. See, this is the reason why I usually don't do these streams early during the day because it's like really off and on. Like I'll get a bunch of people, usually from overseas, and then the problem is if I'm not talking about a, something with which they can identify, it becomes a pointless conversation. And then the other thing is a lot of people drop off because over here this is work time for most people. Like some people are just coming home and not so it's not that rewarding. So I'm going to give it a minute to see if I have any more responders here. And if not, I'm going to end this right there. Okay. And I might come on later and do a different stream with my other crowd. We'll see. But I did just want to touch on like talking about stuff going on in the world. Like another place I didn't get to talk about since I ended the geopolitics discussion was going on in South Korea, how they declared martial law, put out put out an arrest warrant for the president there, not a former president, like the sitting president. um, it is crazy between Germany, South Korea, like that was going on. That was crazy. What's going on in Latin America is crazy because it's affecting the United States. Of course, the Ukraine-Russian war, the Israel Hamas war. I've talked about that in passing a week ago. Um, and I was talking about the Latino immigration crisis in America. I usually got pushback from a lot of these little hardcore Democrats who don't like facts when it goes against their views. But that's on both sides, both on the political left and political right here in America. And I'm sure it happens in these other parts of the world as well, where facts always become inconvenient when it goes against your ideology, which is why I try to be generally politically apathetic and not take any sides, because that way I can talk honestly about stuff that goes on no matter which side it offends. And that will be bringing me into my new conversation for the next 2 weeks, which is I'm gonna do a talk. I'm gonna do like little chats with everyone on my vertical live streams like today, where I'm basically just gonna call both sides of an opposing view wrong and give them my view on it. I'm gonna start doing that for the next couple of weeks, and I might start it tonight. So if people want to chime in, I usually do it around 9, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States, Eastern Standard Time. Well, it's not just the United States, but Eastern Standard Time. So Usually do it around 9, 10 p.m. And if people want to come in, like I said, I'm going to start that conversation where each day is going to be a different hot topic, and I'm basically going to say both sides are wrong on these issues, and here's what I think about it. So that's going to be the new thing I do going into these next few weeks. But I don't see I'm getting much people talking with me here, so I think it's a good time to leave off here, and people can watch this on replay when this um because once I upload this, I let all my broadcasts be saved so people can watch them over and over. Only one I didn't save was one that was demonetized because it had copyright claims against the music. At the time, I probably should have just um, deleted all the segments where the music copyright claims were coming, but I didn't think of it. I just deleted the whole video. But um, that was the only one that I've deleted. All the content that I've ever done is still here on my channel, good and bad. Mostly bad, but there's some good stuff. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to, peruse my channel and check that stuff out. If you're watching this on replay, if you want to support me, you can send me a super thanks, or I have links in my description if you want to send me if you want to support me through Cash App or buying me a coffee. There's yes, an actual app called buymeacoffee.com. You can support me that way. And you can sign up for memberships. I haven't done any membership only content in a while just because I don't have that many members. But if I get more members, I'll do a lot of member only content. Particularly, I have some physical fitness and martial arts stuff up in my members only videos. So, guys, feel free to check that stuff out if you like. Other than that, I'm out. Unless there's anyone who wanted to, say something to me before I jet. If not, um, we're out of here. This is my University of Maryland hat. Go Terps. All right. So with that, I guess I'm done because I don't see anybody talking. It's about 3 people in the chat room, but probably don't want to talk. That's fair. All right, guys, take it easy.